Hey family. In the month or so since the public release of the Unpup project, I have been absolutely inundated with questions. Try as I might to answer, with the prevalent presence it has across different platforms, forums, and reposts, this has become impossible to accomplish. So I took a page out of my friend's playbook, YouTuber voice and all, and decided to make a short video for you all, hopefully to clear up as much as I can. I would like to preface this entire video with this. I am not Bring a Case. Probably the most frequent comment we see are people confusing us for each other or thinking we're the same person. My friend Matthew is the creator, vision, and voice of that channel. I do, however, strongly recommend subscribing to him, and maybe you'll see more of our future antics. With that hopefully cleared up,
Yes!
is the Un-pup. An AUG which is the result of overconfidence from my friends and complete under-supervision from another adult. This rifle is made from 99% standard AUG components, with the only non-factory component being the trigger linkage. The single part which had to be custom made for this project. Short introduction for anyone who didn't watch my friend's video on this, or is not in the AUG community. A few months ago, myself and a few friends were working on various platform-related projects. Paul of Coco Arms had long been working on a conversion for the F90 airsoft gun to accept a functioning AUG fire control group and Nylog barrel. I had just started to make some rough drafts for what at the time was a joke about unbullpupping the AUG. And Mr. Bring-A-Case himself began his draft of modifying a stock to accept Desert Tech Quattro mags. In the midst of these, a plan to attend Steyr Academy started to take shape. This turned into a scuttle to get our projects out, functional, and hopefully showcased to Steyr themselves on the big day out. February 14th, under a month before the trip, I began creating the project that I severely underestimated the time frame for. Angle grinder in hand, I began to remove the now unnecessary parts of the stock, starting with the cleaning kit storage area and moving my way forward to the pistol grip and cutlass. After a rough mock-up and a few test fits for placement, I moved on to making shims to eventually close up the holes I had left behind. I ended that first day early, but accomplished. The following day, my scraps from Mr. Bring-A-Case arrived, and I immediately got to work on trimming and solving the puzzle of fitting up the new layout. Now seems as good a time as any to address the rifle's short length of pull. As it is here, the length of pull measures at a whopping 9 inches. Compared to your standard AR with the stock fully collapsed, that lands you at about the 10-inch mark. Here's a few photos of all the material that I had to work with. The original draft was intended to have more, but since the ice storm destroyed my tree that grew broken AUG stocks, my options were fairly limited. I started by removing the cleaning kit portion, similar to how I did on the main stock body, with a key difference being I removed the ramp surface that the front of the trigger pack rests on. Doing this allowed me to not only freely insert the pack from the rear without impeding function, but also gave me ample access to the stock button for teardown and disassembly. With that out of the way, and given everything was already as short as it was, maximizing my bonding surfaces became critical. It was here I learned some unique geometry quirks with the AUG stock. Underneath the belt line, which houses the receiver and bolt carrier, the width of the stock becomes slimmer the further forward it goes. Learning this allowed me to take only 7 to 8 millimeters off the new stock portion for leveling and final fitment. All that was left was just to decide on placement. From here, I had a few options. Having it lower down allowed for maximum contact area, but I'll admit didn't look the best. Placing the stock higher up meant that I had to design a shim to maintain that level of contact, and it also became the consensus of visual appeal among the few who knew about the project. Moving on from that, the pistol grip area was nothing special to create. I had to abandon my hopes of using waffle mags in favor of retaining that iconic cutlass grip. Therefore, the install was much simpler. To oversimplify, it boils down to joining two flat surfaces. One of the goals of this project, and something I absolutely wanted to maintain, was full functionality and the ability to maintenance the rifle. This meant retaining the safety and not compromising on access for swapping parts. For instance, having full access to the trigger shoe. I started by shaving down the ridges on the top side of the cutout that would usually house the bottom of the receiver. From there, I started dialing in the overall shape and placement, making clearance for the mag well and future linkage. When that became a solved problem, I moved on to creating a hand stop for the front. This is mostly an homage to my previous project, lovingly named the chop stock. Similar to that, I integrated the hook at the back of the stock and moved it forward. This created somewhere closer than the, now much further out, factory vertical grip to hold the rifle. Now that I had the rifle's layout and function mostly sorted, came the hard part. Little odds and ends got tidied up. The hand stop was sloped for better fitment, shims got their final fitment and insertion, and a safety was glued in and shaved down to fit to the sides of the stock. That last one being incredibly necessary due to how little material there was left. The bottom section of the safety was removed when cutting the pistol grip off, so there was very little material, and it wouldn't support the weight of the receiver. This is where we get into the real bulk of mess on the project. My good friend, JB Plastic Bonder. Shims were set into place, bonded, and sanded on each side, then left to cure. Then the same process again for the hand stop. With the placement for everything now set in stone, or at least polymer, the more crucial parts of the assembly were able to begin. I measured out and oversized a hole for the trigger shoe, and was able to start work on the single biggest roadblock for the project. The trigger linkage was an experience. Since I lacked much foresight or any real material knowledge, I had put all of my eggs into the just bend the factory trigger linkage around 180 degrees basket. This, unfortunately, was not what basic knowledge of metallurgy permitted. Not to say progress wasn't made. I had validated my measurements for what I needed the linkage to be. I just had to get one made. And hopefully, one strong enough to take about 10 to 15 pounds of force without bending or permanently deforming. On an already bizarre rifle, the solution I sought has to be one of the most cursed parts of the whole project. My good friend, Jacob, is a blacksmith by trade, usually fabricating ornate and intricate handrails and gates for multi-million-dollar estates. He happily took on a new challenge, rapid prototyping of firearm components. Through some of my best napkin drawings, and after those immediately bit me in the ass by getting some measurements lost in translation, the linkage was then adjusted, modified, and ready to be installed on the rifle. With everything finally settled into place, and now less than a week left to have this thing running, crunch time on assembly began. I professionally applied the plastic bonder and Velcro to the pistol grip area. I then also professionally made a hasty modification to the magwell to allow the trigger linkage to be installed and removed. With everything set into place functionally, I slathered some more bonder for reinforcement, and the next day I went to validate function and made sure nothing immediately fell apart. Oh, I lost the linkage. Which was successful. After the most lackluster sanding job possible, and the tannest lipstick I could acquire to apply to this pig, the Un-pup was ready for debut. And well, if you don't know the rest, I once again highly suggest watching my friend's YouTube video of the trip. At the end of that video, my friend adds a much needed bolt release to the traditionally wrong side of the rifle. Since getting it back from him for filming, I have been able to properly sand and buff out imperfections on cuts I made, or sanding I didn't complete. This is in preparation for a very nice Cerakote job my close friend offered to do on the stock. There's more in store in the future. Maybe not here, at least reliably, but for sure on my Instagram page at nick.aug. If there was anything I missed in the video, or something you feel still needs clarification, please feel free to ask in the comments. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching.